The reason that I loved Amsterdam is because I lived in Istanbul before. I'm like, yeah, let's meet and let's catch up, And he was like, yes, definitely, let's do that. What about September 17th at 3 o'clock? And I'm like, it's June, man. Like, what are you talking? If you don't want to see me, just say so, don't make excuses.
Meet Ahmet, a Turkish nomad who's lived in 7 countries across 3 continents. He reveals how living like a Friends TV show in San Francisco changed everything. The shocking culture clash when Dutch friends schedule hangouts months in advance, and how Turkish communities in Berlin are completely different from Istanbul locals. From surviving alone at 22 to potentially starting his own business in Bali, Ahmet's journey shows the emotional trade-offs of living everywhere. My name is Nick Ang, your insider guide to expat life in Europe. Let's go.
I'm from Turkey originally, Antalya, my hometown, and I used to live in Istanbul. During my studies, I started exploring moving out, and I moved to San Francisco as exchange student. And then after that, I did my master's in Barcelona, and then I went to Amsterdam for my internship, and then I moved to Malaysia for work, Kuala Lumpur, and then I moved to Helsinki for Smartly. That's where I met you. We worked together. And after Helsinki, I moved to Berlin, and then I moved to Amsterdam, where I live right now for the last 5 years.
Did you foresee your life being so nomadic?
I wasn't dreaming that, but I feel like life just brought me to this kind of journey of being this nomadic. It's just happened next to each other, step by step. I wasn't planning moving around this much. It's just when I realized that I can move abroad after my first exchange, just gave me some confidence to live around. And as I lived, it just gave me more confidence. And that's why it became that, I'm just moving around, I'm chasing jobs, studies, or, places. And that's how it happened. But I wasn't thinking that it will be like this, to be honest.
Your first experience abroad where you lived more than, let's say, as a tourist, you were living there for a while. I think that was San Francisco, right?
That was San Francisco as an exchange student.
What's your memory of that place? Do you think it suited you well as like the first place that you landed in?
Yeah, I mean, I remember quite extreme, let's say, in a good way and bad way. It was really challenging for me. It was the first time that I was living somewhere like really, really long time, like with the language that I cannot speak that well. Like I had to, practice my English. My studies was in English, but it was just, like the university where you go and like listen to classes, like you write in English. Sometimes you speak, but not that much. I never had international friends. I didn't have to speak English until I moved to San Francisco. So it was a bit different for me. I had to practice a lot. At the same time, you need to meet new people. You need to study there. You need to find the place to live and so on. So all of this combination was challenging. But at the same time, I met great people. I met really, really good friends. I had a lot of fun there. So that's why I remember as extremely challenging and extremely amazing at the same time. And that experience connected me the rest of the journey that I have. It was a great place to be an exchange student because there was a lot of international people coming in. It's San Francisco, United States. You are all exposed to the culture before going there. So you kind of live the dream a little bit. You also kind of judge in your mind because there's this impression in your mind and like you see the reality, there's a difference. A lot of emotions, a lot of learnings and so on. We had a house of 4. We became like really, really good friends. Suddenly I felt like I was living this show like Friends life because, I'm in United States, like living like with other people, everyone has a super different character, but still we have a lot of stories together, times together, but everyone thinks super differently. So I really felt like, I'm living like this TV show. Everyone really, really enjoyed in that group and everyone felt quite special. I think that's the case, whoever you ask who has done like exchange or Erasmus. But, like we felt like, this is a special group of people like came together. We all loved each other. We are going to see each other for a long time. Of course, didn't happen that much, but still the rest of my life got connected to that like starting point. And I think San Francisco was a really, really good place to be an exchange student, to study like a American university, to travel around because it's in California and you can do like the road trips and so on.
Yeah. How old were you at the time when you went to San Francisco?
It was 2013, so I was 22.
22. Oh yeah. Perfect age.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then when you finish your exchange, you finish your university program, what happened next? Did you try to go back somewhere in the United States?
I went back to Istanbul because I had to study my university, of course. And I
Yes.
remember like when I was going back, I also had a little bit of relief that I survived and I managed it well, that, the 6 months, and I enjoyed it a lot, the mission accomplished kind of feeling. So I went back to university. I still had to study 1.5 years to finish my university. But after that, since I was also finishing my university, of course, I was thinking what I'm going to do next. Okay, should I do masters or not? And that feeling of being able to survive living abroad, of course, connected my mind. Okay, I can do this again. Let's see what kind of options I have. And that's how I got connected to like a master program where it is super international. It's like international management program, and it's called SAMS. And the program is basically you study 1 term in your home school, which was Istanbul, 1 term abroad, which was Barcelona, and you have to do an internship in a third country. You cannot do an internship in Turkey, in my case, in Spain, in my case. You have to find an internship in another country that you haven't lived before. So it
Wow.
was quite international, and you had to do that in internship to be able to finish your
Yeah.
studies.
Program.
And that's how I went to Amsterdam in the first place. And there's one kind of trick here. I went to Amsterdam because I had a Dutch girlfriend then who I met in San Francisco and who I started dating with in Barcelona. So that's why I say that this whole journey is so connected to each other. And that's how I
Yeah.
first moved to Amsterdam in the first place.
In my mind, you're always this guy that's on the move, very nomadic, exploring the world and trying a lot of new things. I know you were playing this new instrument after you moved to Amsterdam.
Yeah,
What is it
handpan.
called? I have handspan. Yeah, I have no idea what
Handpan,
it's
yeah.
called. Okay, it sounds really nice, very calming. My impression of you is like this, right? Do you think your nature, your personality is very suited to being this global citizen sort of person, or did you think that this is something that you have to try very hard to open up yourself to?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And this is something that I'm thinking a lot nowadays. Like I'm in a point of life that I'm trying to decide what I want to do, moving back to Turkey or Istanbul, staying in Amsterdam, moving somewhere else, what I want. I think my nature is super fit to do that in one part, and in other part is really not, in my opinion. I am quite, how do you say it? I can be alone. I like being alone. I can handle things by myself. I like to, how do you say it? Stay on my own feet a lot. And like living abroad requires that, you need to handle everything by yourself. You need to chase, you need to solve the problems and so on. And I really like that. And I have this personal satisfaction even doing that, like moving to a new country, finding a place to live, like making new friends, like creating your own routines in a completely different environment. It gives me personal satisfaction. In that sense, yes. On the other hand, I'm not someone who is super duper social, super duper talkative, going to people, unlocking relationships all the time and so on. I like to have my own people. I like to like keep them, and I like to get deeper with them, like in terms of like relationship. So in that sense, is actually what I've been doing is a little bit, yeah, not fit, I would say, but still it helped me a lot to improve that muscle of myself as well. And yeah, I still made friends, but still when I think the nature of myself, yeah, sometimes I feel that it's not super duper fit, even though in some sense it does.
Would you say that you have kept in touch with most of the people that you have left behind? Are you still in touch with
Yeah.
many people in Berlin?
Not that much. I wish I was more.
We all do.
I'm in touch. Yeah, I'm in touch with you.
Yes, that's true.
I at least what you think, but I mean, still, it's been a while. At least we talk to each other. I mean, I was in touch with my friends that is coming from my, let's say, Turkish friends, childhood friends who I met during my high school and university. I was always in touch with them. I always went back to Turkey, back and forth. But the people that I met in Helsinki, in Berlin, previously in other countries, time to time, yes, I'm in touch with them. I still have a relationship, but not at the level that I wanted, to be honest. And it's a bit natural, everyone has their own priorities. We all have, our lives like busy. It's not easy if you physically cannot see each other or do something. Whenever I go to Berlin, I meet with the friends
You
that
do.
I met there.
I
I
can
do.
attest to
I
that.
try.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I like that, to be honest. It gives me a lot of energy going back to the city. I'm seeing let's say, old friends.
Has there been any hacks that worked for you to continue friendships that you truly valued, even though you physically aren't going to be apart?
Yeah, I mean, the hack that I used is not a hack, but I think it was important for me to at least keep the relationships that I had in Turkey. That's something that's really, really, I don't know, I tried and I went back and forth. Other than that, like the hacks that I try to like keep is, I don't know, it's so basic, but for example, on Instagram, sometimes you send some reels to like some friends, even though you don't talk to each other, you have a memory and you just send like some reels and, you laugh on it. And I like, it creates a connection,
Yes.
and again, going to somewhere, and even though if it's just like 20 minutes of coffee or something like that, meeting with a friend and refreshing that relationship is something that really, really I like. Maybe see that it creates a lot of value in the relationship, and like you like stay in touch. So those kind of little touches that you have is, I think it helps a lot to keep the relationship.
Is a trip just to meet friends, or is it like there's a festival and then you happen to be meeting your friends?
No, for example, Berlin, I went
Yeah.
back like a few times after I moved away. I mean, it was for friends. Like it was for city, it was for Berlin that I wanted to be back. But what connects me to Berlin was the people that I met there. Knowing I would see those people when I go there, that's made me travel there. I was not
Okay.
going there specifically to see a person, but I was going there to see the people that I met there and hoping that I would just see most of them when I'm there. So I was going to Berlin to see the people. Whenever I go to Istanbul to see my friends. And if I do something, I do with them.
Can we touch more upon this keeping relationships alive in Istanbul? It feels
Yeah.
like to you that's important. I don't know, but from my point of view, it sounds like a kind of a backup plan. Maybe as you are traveling the world, at some point, if you decide that maybe it's time to return home, why is it important to you to keep that open?
I don't know, living abroad long this much, and you lose the sense of where is home. So you cannot say that, okay, this is home and I want to keep my relationships there alive. It like you lose that a little bit. But for Istanbul, I'm not sure if I can still call it home or not, but I always felt that my people there, my friends there, was the base that I had. That's why it was important for me to keep that relationship alive there. And it's not just because, okay, I need to go to Istanbul to keep my relationships alive. I miss my people and I just want to see them, and that's why I want to go. And that's how it
Yeah.
became naturally.
Okay.
I kept alive, and I think I also felt a bit lucky that my friends, they love me and I love them, and they miss me, I miss them. So it created this, like, I don't know, this
Like a natural attraction that you just want
natural
to,
attraction to go there time to time. Yes, nowadays I started thinking about the people, and Istanbul is still the place that I think that I have the most people.
Let's hone in a bit on this contrast of Istanbul and the places that you've been living in, because I find it very contrasting.
It is
Istanbul has
very
how many million people?
16 million people officially.
Jesus. Okay, yeah.
Officially, it is set to 20 million, and I would believe that. It is a huge city. It is still like quite dense, but it is a huge, widespread city that you can travel for hours and you're still in Istanbul. It is crowded, but also it's quite widespread as well.
You've been to cities big and small, right? I would consider Amsterdam very small compared to Istanbul. Tell us
Yeah.
about what that's like the experiences you've had navigating these two different kinds of places.
Yeah, of course, it's completely different lifestyle and so on. The reason that I loved Amsterdam is because I lived in Istanbul before, and I lived this huge mess in Istanbul, and I saw like let's say the bad part of it because I've been living there for a long time. It's a huge city, like traffic jam all the time. It's so crowded and so on. And that's why when I first went to Amsterdam, it felt like, oh, like this is like a heaven, like it is kind of a big city, but everyone cycles around. There's no traffic. You can reach anywhere in 15, like 20 minutes. It doesn't feel like, of course, it's crowded. It's a lively city, but not super duper packed and so on. That's how I got really, really connected to the idea of Amsterdam and idealized in my mind, okay, I need to live here, like this is heaven and so on. And after living there for 5 years, now I can also see the bad part of, like living in a small city compared to a big city. I cannot choose one, to be honest. I'm in between in that sense. I really believe that if you live in a place, there's always going to be like good things and bad things. You need to leverage the good part and you need to minimize the bad parts based on your personality, based on your choices. In the big city, you have everything there. It's so dynamic. Istanbul is somewhere you can find something to do like 7 days a week, 24 hours in a day. Amsterdam is not like that. Amsterdam has quite a structured life, quite a life that everyone lives the same in Amsterdam. It really has like a small city characteristics. It feels like everyone kind of knows each other. Everyone is similar to each other. Everyone is doing the same thing. Restaurants are so similar to each other. Cafes are so similar to each other. it gives you some comfort, easiness in life, and I really like that. But then sometimes you really miss this cosmopolitan feeling in the city that, you will take a metro to somewhere and you're going to see something completely different.
Right.
So I cannot choose anymore. I feel like I need both of them in my life.
Okay.
But there's no like a perfect place to live in.
You've repeated this a few times. It's about the people. When you think of a city, you think of the people now. How
Yeah.
different are the people in Amsterdam versus any other city that you choose that you feel is a big contrast to?
Amsterdam, I think it's a unique mix of people, I would say, in a way that I'm not sure if there's, maybe Singapore is like this as well. Like, if, I'm not sure if there's any other cities like that in the world that attracts this amount of international people, expat
Mm,
community, while being this small. Like Amsterdam is a small city. Amsterdam population is like 800,000 or something like that. And it's still
mm,
one of the most popular cities to move as an expat. And it is
mm,
quite unique. Like London, it's a big city where there's a lot of internationals coming in. Paris, Berlin, Amsterdam is like that as well, but Amsterdam is not a big city.
mm,
So the people in Amsterdam, what we observe, and that's something that I find it unique, nice, but I can also complain about it. There
mm,
is this local community, Dutch people, and there's this expat international community where there's people like me. And there's
mhm.
unfortunately a split between them. Like Dutch people are quite close. I think it's similar to any places we can say, but in Amsterdam, since it's a small city, it's more visible that Dutch people are quite close in their own community, and expat international people quite close to their own community as well. And
Okay.
the mixture is not there that much. And compared to Istanbul, for example, it's a big
Mhm.
city and it's not that international as far as I know, even though it's been a while that I lived there. But Istanbul is just, like I cannot compare it with Amsterdam because you don't see this differences.
I want to zoom in a little bit on you deciding to move to Europe, right? Yeah, you have
Yeah.
been in different parts of Europe. I heard you say Barcelona and then Helsinki, Berlin, and then Amsterdam.
Yes. Yes.
Can you give us a glimpse into the decision making process of moving from one to the other each time?
Yeah, it was all connected. It wasn't I was sitting down and choosing a city. It was like what
Okay.
life brought me. Like after like living in San Francisco and Barcelona, I had this mindset that I can live anywhere. Like
Mm,
it doesn't matter. I can just live anywhere. And I'm really, really curious person. When I think about a place, even now, but it was even much more when I was young.
mhm,
When I think about a place, I don't see the challenges. I don't see I don't know what I'm going to do there and so on. I really get excited about the stuff that I don't know about. And that's
mhm,
how I moved to Malaysia because starting with Malaysia, that's the internship company that I did in Amsterdam. They offered me a job there and I moved there. And then I decided to move back to Europe because I miss being back in Europe. And then in a Facebook group that belongs to master's students that I was belonged to, someone from Smartly shared a job posting about this customer success management. I saw it, I clicked on it, cool company, like purple websites. It
mhm,
seems like an amazing culture and so on. I can go there. And I just got in touch with them and I did the interview. And the job was based in Helsinki. And actually, in my last interview, they asked me, are you sure you want to move like Helsinki? And I was like, yes, I can move. I was just saying yes to anything at that time in terms of places. That's how I moved
mm,
to Helsinki. And then after living in Helsinki for a while, I wanted to move to another European city. And then Berlin was possible. And then I went to Berlin. And then at that point, I always had this idealization in my mind that Amsterdam is like a great place to live because I did my internship before. I really wanted to move
mhm.
back there. And that was the point I personally decided, okay, I want to move to Amsterdam. I looked for a job, I found a job, and I made my move. So it was
Okay.
always like one next to each other that's kind of like dragged
Yeah.
me. Also for Barcelona, it was a master program and I did my selection of schools. I put Barcelona, Sydney, and any other places there. And Barcelona was possible. So they sent me to Barcelona.
That's beautiful. That's
Yeah,
basically adjacent possibilities opened up as you move from one spot to another, right?
exactly.
Nice. Okay. Now I'm curious about your sense of belonging. Do you feel like you ever truly belonged in any of these countries? Germany, Netherlands, even Turkey?
Yeah, Turkey, of course, that's still where I'm from. That's where I'm originally from. I mean, among this, like, I lived quite a short amount of time. Helsinki, a bit more than a year. Berlin, less than a year. Barcelona, 6 months, and so on. So the Netherlands, I lived like 5 years. And of course, I have a feeling of belonging there because not in terms of language, I don't speak the language, not in terms of maybe I don't know, I really originally feel belonging there. I'm so integrated, but my life is there. My routines are there. My house is there. Most of my friends are still there. There's this like, yeah, it's been 5 years that I'm living in Amsterdam. So I feel belonging to my daily life, to my routines. But
Yeah.
still, how do I describe this? The feeling of belonging is a little bit lost, to be honest. Because when I go to Istanbul, for example, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know anymore. But when I'm in Amsterdam, yes, I have my like daily routines, like I kind of daily belong there. But I don't know if I'm gonna live there for a really, really long time. If I'm still expat, I live there, I'm a resident. Yeah, but I'm so in between in mind. So I lost that feeling of belonging, like a bit, to be honest.
Speaking of residency, you told me earlier that you now have the permanent residency, right, in
Yes, I
Netherlands?
have permanent. Yes, yes, yes.
And you're in the process also of applying for the citizenship.
Yes, I applied for my citizenship and I'm waiting for the results.
Can I ask you personally what is the motivation for applying for the citizenship?
Yeah, because I'm from Turkey.
I don't know
I'm
what
an
that means. Like, can you unpack
I will
unpack that for us? Yeah.
I will explain. Yeah, it's just I have a Turkish passport currently, and it is not a strong passport. And as you can understand, I'm someone who likes to travel a lot. So the main motivation is to have a passport that I can travel. So since I have my official life in Amsterdam, my house, my routines, and everything, like permanent residency gives that as well, but having a passport just gives you I don't know, more connection to the country that you live in. But
Mm-hmm.
main motivation of getting a passport on top of permanent residency in my case is having
Mm-hmm.
like a stronger passport to be able to travel to
Yeah.
other countries.
Literally a passport, right? In German, it's Reisepass. Reise means travel pass. So like it's to let you
Yeah,
move
exactly.
around, right?
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Do you feel any obligation to, let's say the day comes, hopefully as soon as possible, that you get your citizenship, Dutch citizenship. Do you feel there's an obligation on your part to sort of integrate a bit more, learn the language? Because you mentioned you don't really speak the language yet. What do you think
Yeah,
about it?
I speak quite basic Dutch, which was
Mm.
officially enough, and that's something that I really think that I'm gonna be like a citizen of a country, and I don't speak the language that well. I think that example in my mind maybe it's gonna be a little bit extreme, but let's say something unlucky happened to you. You're trekking in Nepal and you're on top of the mountain and you need someone to save you, and you need to get in touch
Uh-huh.
like with the consulate that you have citizenship for. I need to get in touch with the Dutch consulate because my passport is
Right.
Dutch. But I don't speak the language. I need to speak in English. And what am I going to tell them? I lived there 5 years. I couldn't learn the language, but come and help me. I think till now, I always saw myself as an expat. I'm working in the Netherlands. I'm paying for my taxes. I'm working hard. I don't have a lot of time to learn the language and so on. But after getting the citizenship, maybe I will see, maybe it will trigger me to learn the language a little bit more with the motivation. I'm not so
Mm.
proud that I don't speak language that well, but
Mm.
maybe like having the citizenship and the passport will trigger me go a step ahead in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for being honest about that.
Yeah, of
If
course.
if you have your citizenship now, would you have to give up your Turkish one, or can you hold
Yes, I
dual?
need to. No, I have to. I
Okay.
have to give up. I mean, in Turkey, I still have this, they call it blue card, that I have all my rights as citizenship except for voting and, of course, like using the passport. But then I need to give the passport still, and I'm going to be only the citizen of the Netherlands.
How do you then think you would identify yourself as? If someone asks you like, where are you from? What would you say? Or
I also thought about it. That's also a thing in my mind. I'm going to be Dutch citizen, but that's how I justify in my mind. Since I also traveled around and lived in different like European countries as well, I
Mhm.
say myself that I'm a citizen of European Union.
Yes. Okay. I'm behind
Like
that. I'm behind that. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. Like I'm a citizen of like European Union. It's like a combination of like different cultures and so on. It is complicated. It is complicated.
Okay.
Yeah,
I remember distinctly, by the way, this thing that you mentioned to me when we were still in Berlin. You said that the people in the Turkish community in Berlin, for the people who don't know, there's like 1 million or more Turkish people in Germany overall. The diaspora here is huge, right? I'm in
yeah.
Germany, you're right now in Netherlands. You told me that there's a pretty big difference in the Turkish people who are living in Berlin, for example, and the Turkish people who are from Istanbul that you spend a lot of time growing up in. Can you tell us a little bit of what people don't really get about the differences of people there?
Yeah, of course. I mean, first of all, Turkey is a really, really big country, like 80 million people, and within the country itself, there is different cultures, just like any other big country. There's like a city culture, there's like a rural area culture, like the culture in the West, culture in the East. And when you think about Turkey, we are in between of, like Western civilization and Eastern civilization, let's say. Like it's like one side it's Middle East, up Russia, and one side is like European Union. So the country itself, within itself, there is a lot of different like cultural norms, different personalities, different group of people. For example, one part is like religion. Turkey is like an Islamic country, and it's a strong religion, and a lot of people are religious, of course. But there are some people who practice in their daily life in a really conservative way, and some people doesn't believe or doesn't practice at all. So there are like big differences within Turkey. Turkish population who live in Germany, like who has been migrated there in 60s, 70s, and so on, mainly came from eastern part of Turkey, mainly came from a little bit more like religious, a little bit more conservative part of Turkey. And they've been living there for a long time. And of course, they live in a place where culturally there's a lot of differences, which made them a little bit more close to protect their own, the culture and their own norms and so on. Whereas like the Turkish people, where you see in the big cities, especially on the western part of Turkey, such as Istanbul, Izmir, Antalya, and so on, is already different. The people who are coming from the other part of Turkey, who lives a little bit more different, a little bit more open, a little bit more less religious. It doesn't mean that one is better than another.
Yeah.
There's some differences even within Turkey. If you go to one city, you can really, really see the difference compared to another city in Turkey. So that's why like the Turkish population you see and meet and get in touch in Berlin who moved there like years ago can be a bit different than people who would meet who just like recently moved, or like anyone who is living in Turkey and the western part in the big cities.
Did you feel like you had to change some part of you to fit in to Amsterdam? Any part you had to deliberately tone down or make disappear for a while?
Some stuff that changed in me, I adjusted myself. Not because I felt that I have to adjust myself, but sometimes I just, learned something new and I thought, okay, this is a good way of living or a good way of staying here as well. But there are also some stuff that I really changed that I didn't like. For example, something that I don't like, but I change a bit as well in the Dutch culture is there's really no spontaneous behaving in the culture in the Netherlands. It's almost impossible to make like spontaneous plans. It's almost impossible that you send a friend a text, hey, beer, question mark, like meet me there in like 20 minutes, we get a beer or something like that. It always never happens. Like when I first moved to the Netherlands, that was a bit of culture shock to me. I know some people and I was like, hey man, I'm in the Netherlands, I moved here, I live here. And he says, oh, that's amazing, man. It's amazing to have you, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, let's meet and let's catch up, And he was like, yes, definitely, let's do that. What about September 17th at 3 o'clock? And I'm like, it's June, man. Like, what are you talking? If you don't want to see me, just say so. Don't make excuses like this. You can be transparent to me. But then I started realizing that that's the thing there. Like they live in the agendas and like it's their lifestyle and they're really filled with, like their agenda is full. And really, like the first point that he can see me is like months ahead, and that was a little bit like culture shock to me, and that I still don't like a little bit. But it also changed in me a bit, and I became like that. Not months, but when someone says that, hey, not all the time, but sometimes it happens. Hey, like, should we meet? It's been a while and so on. Yeah, let's do that. What about next week or in 2 weeks? Whereas in Turkey, it's not acceptable. Either today or tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, like you make a time.
Oh, we're not friends, right? Like you're not respecting me.
Exactly, yeah. Like it's not happening again. So that's something that changed in me a bit, but also overall, I became more and more short-term, mid-term, and long-term plan in my mind. It's also maybe coming from this being on visa, okay, in 2 years, I'm going to have this permanent residency. Okay, maybe in 3 years, I'm going to work there. Okay, maybe it's also like the professional, when you plan your career, okay, maybe a few years, I'm going to do that. It just made me a little bit more planned, a little bit more structured, whereas it's quite different than the culture that I'm coming from. Yeah.
I see that your career is very global and you have already explained it is not deliberately planned beforehand with a master plan. It was more adjacent possibilities. Do you have any advice for people who see the life that you're living and aspire towards living a life a bit more like yours? Any advice for them of what they can do to make that happen?
Yeah. At that time, I prioritized living abroad, right? Because first I went on exchange and I went to live abroad. In the next day, I was okay, I need to do an internship and I need to find a job and so on. So my priority was kind of like going to the next city. And then that priority made me go into digital marketing because the possibilities were there for international positions. I didn't
Right.
first think about digital marketing and became global. I first thought about going to a new city. And since the opportunity was in digital marketing, then I became professional in digital marketing. And I think you can do reverse engineering for that as well. If your aim, if your goal in this life is being global, then of course, like you need to prioritize career path, professional path that is like suitable for being like global. In my case, it was digital marketing or being in tech, in startups and so on, where there's a lot of international global work going on. But again, if you do a little bit of thing on the other side, if your goal is to live abroad, if your goal is to like have like a nomad life, global life, then you need to prioritize like professions that allows you to do that and that you can find jobs, that you can go remote work, that you can do freelance, that you can find, positions in a lot of different cities and countries. So that will be my starting point if there's someone who likes to go there. On the more personal side, I think this is really important. In my case, I always moved myself. I didn't move as a family or something like that, which I liked, but I also feel that it requires a specific personality. You need to be okay to be alone. Going abroad, shiny, going abroad is fun. You think, oh, festivals, parties, international friends, global companies, amazing offices, and so on. But at the end of the day, you're going to be yourself. At the end of the day, you don't have the friends that you met from your high school, from your university. You don't have that girl that you dated 2 years ago that you can text suddenly. You don't have that family member that you can call when you feel a little bit stressed and so on. You don't have those people. You have new people. And new people is new people. They're not the people that you used to know before. You really need to be okay to be lonely in those kind of times. It doesn't have to be really, really challenging or something like that, but you need to accept that. Otherwise, you're not going to enjoy. You're not going to leverage the good part of living abroad. You're going to maximize the bad part of it, which is not good for any people.
I hear you. And I second that advice. I think that makes a lot of sense. Do a bit of
Yeah,
inner work to understand whether you're that kind of person. You're going to be fine,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Earlier, you mentioned that you are going to go to Bali for a couple of months. Tell us about the motivation there. You've spent the past many years in Europe. Now you're deciding to move completely to a different continent, to Bali, which is in Indonesia. Tell us more
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I always told you in this meeting that I never had this master plan, but I had one plan in my mind. I always wanted this a little bit, a part of the year I want to spend in somewhere with good weather, a little bit summery, a part of the time of the year that I would spend in Europe. In this case, like summers in Europe, winters are somewhere else. It always stayed in my mind. And when I was living in Malaysia, I traveled to Bali a lot. And I really like that. I like the place that is being exotic, being in Asia, completely different place. And at the same time, it gives the feeling of comfort zone. Like it's quite westernized with the places that you have. It is quite international, a lot of digital nomad people, a lot of international people, entrepreneurs, and so on. So it really gave that thinking in my mind. I want to spend a part of my, year in Bali. And now I'm kind of testing it. My job is quite remote and I'm going to go there for 3 months and I'm going to work from there and I will test how the life could be there in a part of the year. And also like Southeast Asia overall, like when I lived there, when I traveled there, I always loved it. Like it's so welcoming. The food is amazing, of course. The people like you is amazing. It's really, really, I really feel comfortable. I really feel calm there, like I really
Yeah.
feel like it really gives me the belonging feeling when I'm there. So that's why spending a part of life, a part of the year, personally, professionally, sounds quite good to me.
And what are you going to be doing there? Are you just going to be working for the current position that you have, or are you also going to be surfing? Are you going to be working on something on your own? What's the plan?
Yeah, I agreed with my current company that I'm gonna decrease my hours there. So I'm gonna work like 3 days a week for them, and I'm gonna start my own business. So I wanna start like growth consultancy, and now we are in this AI era. There's a lot of happening, a lot of ideas and around. I wanna try some stuff there as well and spend
Yeah.
some time on those kind of stuff as well. So I'm gonna be still working for the current company that I have in the Netherlands remotely. I will start my own business and see like what I can do in that sense. And also, I like surfing. I'm going to be surfing in Bali. And also Bali has this, I don't know, like this sporty exercise culture as well, and I'm in an age that, I need to take care of myself, I'm going to go to my gym, I'm going to do my sports and so on. So I'm just going to throw myself in that lifestyle. But main motivation is working, starting my own business, having some connections as well, and surfing.
Amazing. And this time when you're
Yeah.
starting your own business, it's not with the intention of securing a passage to a new country, right? Not this
Yeah.
time. Okay.
That's also like one of the reasons that I want to go to Bali and feel the freedom, because for the last almost 10 years, I always had a task in my mind, like moving abroad, like finding a job, securing a visa. I need to stay here 5 years to secure a visa, to get a permanent residency and so on. And this is the first time that I feel like real freedom. And this is the first time that I'm asking myself, really, what do you want to do? And what do you think you can do the best now, without thinking about all those limitations? And I really want to enjoy that. That's why like I feel quite excited and quite motivated to do it. And I see Bali as like, my like kickoff place to do that.
That's awesome. I feel
Yeah.
the energy that you're emitting. And it's the same energy I
Yeah.
feel myself having just gotten my permanent residency here in Germany and quitting my job and doing this YouTube thing. It's yeah, I know what you're talking about firsthand.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
very
Nice.
excited for you. Okay, one last question. Of all the places you have lived in, which one's your favorite and which one is your least favorite?
So it's such a hard question. I cannot like the thing is when I was in San Francisco, I was 22. If I go to San Francisco, I'm a different person now, like with this
True.
mind, with the memories that I have is quite different. But I don't want to make it complicated, the question. I think the favorite place is still Amsterdam. I mean, that's why I moved there. I really think that it is an optimal place to live in. It is a combination of a lot of stuff. And it is an easy life there. It is a comfortable life. It gives a lot of opportunities and it gives you a lot of freedom space as well. I think I would say Amsterdam, but if I choose a place right now to live for a year, for example, it wouldn't be Amsterdam because I just lived there for 5 years. Yeah, the least favorite. Yeah, it's really hard to answer. I'm sorry, but like
It's okay. It's okay.
I was gonna say Helsinki, but Helsinki gave me a lot. I have
Yeah,
a lot of good memories.
me
Like
too.
it boosted my career. Like the company that I worked, like Smartly was still the best company that I worked for. I really, really admire like what I learned and so on. All the friends that I made there, it's amazing. It's just I never visited back there, and it has a reason because it didn't attract me that much. It's such a calm, such a city that is a little bit introvert city. Even though I'm kind
Mm.
of an introverted person, when you are in somewhere different, it just doesn't connect you that much. If I was from Helsinki as a Finnish person, I would love it. But as an
Mm.
international person who lives there, it doesn't offer that much, I think.
Got it. Cool. That's it, Ahmet. Thanks a lot for your time. This was
Yeah, thank you, Nick. That
eye-opening.
was, yes,
Yeah.
thanks so much. Yeah, it was really lovely. Thanks for having me in this one. Yeah.
Virtual high five.